welcome to all of you. Actually, I should do that first. Welcome to all of you for coming and for finding us. The announcement is that I think they're going to let us use the library on Thursdays, starting our next meeting. That's what it looks like. There's been a lot of discussion because it gives us more room and it's a little easier for people to find. Has good parking. So watch the newsletters and watch the Facebook and so on and so forth. I haven't signed the paperwork yet, but I was told that they agreed. They found some donation money to hire someone to staff it for the time that we need it.
That's good.
So heads up to that. Anyway, yeah, it's going to be good. Again, I'm just delighted that you're here. The room next door has yearbooks laid out on the table. Byron contributed yearbooks starting from 1953. I have yearbooks, not all of them, but I have some starting from 62, although I did have some gaps in there. And there are a few other, Janet has some from, I don't know who.
The 50s through 61.
And the yearbooks are absolutely a wealth of information because I've used some of them in this talk. But anyway, Siobhan, do you want to introduce me?
I do.
Okay, then I will pass this on to our program chairman, Siobhan.
I do.
Okay. I'm going to sit.
Yeah. First of all, before we get started, next month we're having a gentleman from the Juniper Tree Historical Society, and he's going to be speaking on the first 10,000 years in the Antelope Valley. And he's going to go at it from a Native American slant, and it's just a wealth of knowledge.
It's Dr. Bruce Love.
Yes. And one of the things that just, I love Gretchen just so much to begin with. But her grandfather, born in 1868. Now think about this, 1868, not 1968, which would have been pretty remarkable for that age. But 1868 had daughters, and he said they could not get married until they went to college.
Graduated from
college. And so when you stop and think of Gretchen's appreciation for education, for schools, this goes back to her grandfather. And so without further ado, we have Gretchen Winfrey.
Thank you, Siobhan. For several reasons. One reason, there's huge gaps. Another reason is I thought I would just put in just enough to get some of you who have a lot of knowledge about the schools in this area, because a lot of you are products of the schools in this area. Might remember that somewhere in your attic you have some pictures, or somewhere you have stashed away some little bits of information, even the ones you might have in your brain. And write it down if you have something, some little tidbit that you can share with us. Because if you don't, when you are gone, it is gone. So we really need to make a concerted effort to live to our purpose, the Historical Society's purpose, which is to preserve the history of the area. And the history of our schools is really fascinating. And I wish I didn't have any gaps, but I do. I also have some pretty pictures, quality-wise. And I'm sure some of you have better pictures. So I'm hoping that my poor quality pictures will motivate you to look for your better quality pictures and get them to us some way or another. We have, there's a Historical Society email address. If you have anything electronic, you can get to us. We all, I think, have our emails posted in the newsletters. You see us around town, you can call us, but we really need to make a concerted effort to pick all of your brains and all the brains of the people you might know to really get a better base for the history of the schools in Roseman. But anyway, we will start at the beginning of organized schooling in Roseman. Organized. Well, I'm sure that, moms and pops taught their kids this or that, but this is an official organized schooling in Roseman. The first school district in the area was 1904. It was the Willow Springs School District. And the first enrollment was 11 students. And it never got much more than that. And it was finally merged with another school district in 26-27. Now this information, the dates came from a document that was the results of research done under the auspices of Kern County Superintendent of Schools. So some of these kind of dates, which you'll see throughout, are not just my memory. They are from a document that was done with research. And this is the school, built by Ezra Hamilton. Ezra, at this point in time had purchased the community of Willow Springs with money from the operation of the mine at Tropico. And he had intended to make this a health resort, but he also had families there that worked in the mine, and there were children. So there was a school. Now, a little wonderful bit of information, this is the kind of tidbits that I think we really need to preserve, was in this book written by Norma Gerber about the Willow Springs School and this teacher, Miss Baugh, who graduated from normal school in 1910. Talking about women way back not having education. You could be a teacher way back then. But she had a bigger dream, according to what is in this book by Norma. She wanted to get higher degrees in geography, and she thought the area around the Antelope Valley was spectacular. So she went to school as a teacher here to get enough money so she could enroll in higher education. She actually got a master's degree, did her master's thesis on the geography of the Antelope Valley, went on and got a doctorate degree, and eventually was one of the first women professors at UCLA. Got full professorship finally. I mean, amazing. Can you imagine? Out at Willow Springs. Now we move into town a bit more. And we have the Roseman School District, which was formed in 1909. And this is a quote out of this little piece of information that I got from the Kern County Superintendent of Schools sponsored document. It says, with the help of Charles Graves, the Roseman School District was formed so he could get his own children a formal education. And I thought that was really, really kind of neat. And here is the first school in Roseman. And notice the bell tower. Now, I am speculating only on this. There was a bell at the old elementary school in Roseman that is now at the new elementary school in Roseman. And I'm wondering, I'm speculating, could it actually have come from this school? I wish I knew someone who could give me some information, because that would be absolutely incredible. If that bell that is now enshrined, really, it's on a beautiful pedestal as the new Roseman Elementary. really had come from the first school. Here's the student body of the school in 1916 and 17. And the names were written on the back of this. This was part of the material that we were able to get, that Doreen Burton Settle had put together. So there are some names on the back of this. And the reason that I think she knew of the names is one of these students is her mother. This is Doreen Burton Settle's mother, Alice Greenleaf. And there are some Graves children in here. I think that's Elizabeth. There's another Graves, and there's another Graves here. This child is Harriet Hamilton. I'm assuming she's a granddaughter of Ezra Hamilton. Oh, I got one too fast. I want to talk a little bit, whoops, me and my buttons here. I want to kind of talk a little bit about her because there has been some speculation as to where this school is. I've heard it was out 35th Street. I've heard it was closer into Rosamond. And I found a picture of Alice Greenleaf, which is this next picture that you've got a peek of. And on the back of this picture, it said that this picture was taken looking north from the northwest corner of Diamond and Center. Okay. That means that this school that you see in the background here, see it right there? There's the school. In the background, that's what we're really interested in. Has to be closer into where Rosamond Elementary now is, I think. If you know, in order to prove it, you'd have to get a surveyor out there. And with all the buildings that we now have, I'm not sure how you do that. But I mean, when you look at the mountains, you know, here's the big peak. If it was out more on 35th Street, it would be over in here somewhere, I think. Anyway, it would be fun for someone to just for the heck of it, just locate exactly where it was. Now, there was another school district that I'd never heard of, but I got it out of the document from Kern County Superintendent of Schools. It was located 4 miles west and 1 mile south of Willow Springs. And I'm sure it was out there because of all the... And they decided to change the name. They hadn't even finished out the year, it looked like, or just about finished out the year when they changed the name to the West Antelope School District. Never had more than 14 students, it said, and several times it almost closed, but then a family would move in, and so they'd be able to stay open the next year. But it did finally close due to lack of ADA in 1946. I don't have a clue where it might be. Does anyone have any... Are there any ruins or anything out there? Janet?
170th.
170th.
170th between Gaskell and Roseland Boulevard was a town called Domino on the west or east side of the road. And
Okay, so 170th
right.
between
Gaskell and Roseland Boulevard.
and Roseland Boulevard. Okay.
Right. And when they started farming out there, I don't know, about 15, 16 years ago, we went by there and all the foundations that were there. Terry's dad took us out there one day in the early 70s, and we walked around the foundations of the town of Domino. And you can still see there was a water tank there and some other things where buildings were. And Cecil, I remember him telling us when he was younger, they'd ride their horses way out west in the valley and stop in Domino and get a soda. And they actually had a post office there until almost 1950, or maybe the late 40s, I think it was, maybe something like that. And that's what I remember. But Jen and I we probably have some pictures
That would be neat.
of the town of Domino.
See, I have found someone who has some pictures of ruins. Wonderful.
East of there for about 3 miles.
Super. Well, I didn't know about this. Well, thank you. Thank you, Ray, for,
Well, Terry probably knows a little bit about it too.
I know where it's at. I don't know anything about it, but I know where it's at.
Okay, well, we'll have to go take pictures
Yeah.
now, too, also. That's a project. All right, so, 1926 to 1927. The two school districts, Willow Springs and the Roseman School District, merged and became the Southern Kern County School District. I've also seen it written Southern Kern County Union School District.
Yeah, that would be right.
So, no more school out at that little schoolhouse in Willow Springs. Everything moved into Roseman. And the school that was built is a pretty school. So we have people in the audience right now who have gone to this school. I have a picture, and I couldn't find the one that I had electronically. But see, it was just a beautiful school
That's the original school.
with all the arches and everything. It's just lovely.
I didn't go there to 52.
Byron went to the school. Jerry, you went to the
Well,
school?
we were discussing, I don't remember looking like that. My family didn't move here until 1952, and I was in second
Okay,
grade.
something happened in 1952 to this school. But before we get to 1952, let me show you another picture that I happened to find in some documents that Siobhan and Ann Yost rescued when they were closing the old district office that was in the house there on the corner of Glendower. I happened to find this picture, and I'm looking at this picture, and I thought, oh, where the heck is that? I thought, you know what? I recognize this. That building was there when I came. So where is that? And then I took a look, and there's the chimney, and there's the top of the spire, and look. There's the bell tower top, there's the chimney. So this building had to be behind the other one. And I know where it was about because I recognized this building. There were some more of them over here, and then Lawson's house was over here on Glendower. Now, this looks like a really neat school, but something happened.
Yes.
July 21st, 1952, we had the Tehachapi earthquake, and that really pretty school had some damage. So parts of the building could not be used. That's the story that I understand now. And that would be about the time you came, Jerry, so that's probably why you don't remember that pretty building. Because they had to not use it or start tearing it down. Before we leave the building, I thought, whoops, I got the wrong way. I thought I'd let Byron talk about, just a minute. Byron, you went to school in this building.
And Byron, we're going to have you come up here.
Well, it's okay. I checked with the photographer.
All righty.
This part of the building had a basement, right? And in the basement was
The library.
the library. The library. Did they serve food? Did they have a cafeteria, guys?
That was the main building, was kind of a cafeteria, all-purpose room, I guess you would say.
So that would be in here.
Yeah, right behind there, yeah.
Okay. It was kind of in case you can't hear, it was kind of an all-purpose room. They could serve food in there, and then the basement was the library. And then there was the bell tower, which we're not supposed to be in, I assume. Anyway, you also told me that part of the school, and I think you mean this part of it, was actually still sound, and someone in town bought it and hauled it away.
Yeah, Sam Bird bought it, and moved it over behind George's place. And eventually it burned down, but he moved it right where the well was.
So Sandberg
Owned the well, the water company.
bought this and moved it. But that would tell me that this was probably still okay. Because this looks like this is behind this building.
Do we have any pictures of that when it was moved, Gretchen?
No. I don't have any pictures of it when it was moved. And say again where it was moved.
That where George's Market used to be, it was behind George's Market. There's a well there, it's not being used now, but that was one of the main wells that Sandberg had at that time.
So there's the old George's Market, which is on the corner of Diamond and Poplar, maybe?
It's
where the automotive
auto
store
parts
is.
store
It's an
now.
auto parts store now.
Yeah,
So
so
it
it
was
was,
moved behind that building.
yeah.
And someone named Sandberg. So people look to see if you have any pictures.
Hey Gretchen, we all think that's just the back of that other building.
Do you?
We don't think it's a building behind it.
That's what I thought.
Does Byron know? The roof line.
Byron, is this the back of that other building?
I believe it is, yeah.
Okay.
The front's really pretty, but the back was, the back.
Well, Byron said that he remembers still going to school here. So maybe the back part wasn't a problem. I don't know, maybe it did. Because he said he remembers still being able to go to school here after 1951. Now, I did, in some of the documents that Siobhan and I saw some kind of a newspaper article about some classes meeting in one of the local churches. But I don't know when, because they didn't have the dates on the article that they had cut out. All right, moving on. So, but I would think about the time of the, or shortly after the earthquake, they had to start building. And this would be in the 50s. And so this is definitely a picture of one of the Roseman Elementary Schools under construction. The sad thing is, there's not one thing written on this picture. No date, There was a time when you used to have dates stamped on your picture. Well, this was prior to that time. There's no date here at all. But that's definitely one of the buildings there at Roseman Elementary. And it was also in with that stuff that you got. Now, this is a big question. I found nothing about Hamilton School, other than I know it exists, or existed. When was it built? I'm sure it was sometime in the 50s. But if anybody has any information, we really need to try to fill in this big hole.
When we were in the 8th grade, we attended about the last month or 2 months of our 8th grade year at Hamilton.
Aha. All right. When
So
were
technically, we
you
were the first students that lived in
that graduated from Hamilton? Okay,
So it
when?
was finished, I guess in 58, somewhere around 58.
Okay, so about 1958. I didn't bring a pencil to write that down with. In 1958, it was finished. So you all went to, did you all as 8th graders go to Catalina?
Yes.
Okay, and they had been going to Catalina for some time, right? The 8th graders had been going to Catalina. Okay, 1958, thank you.
Well, I don't know if 58 is exactly when it was finished.
That was the first graduating class.
No.
No?
We were in 1959 is when we graduated, Byron and I.
Oh, you and Byron?
Yeah, we spent the last, I think it was about the last month or so. that we had-
Yeah, we went the first part of the year at the location of where Roseman Elementary is now. And then like Byron said, towards the end of the year, then we got to go out to the
So
new
that would be
building.
59. So it was during the late 50s, okay, that it was
I mean,
built.
they were probably working on it in 58, but I don't think anybody was attending it in 58.
Okay, so I have changed that to 59.
Was it designed as a as a junior high
No,
at that time?
No, because this wasn't a unified school district, no junior high.
Okay, so it would have just been a separate elementary school?
Yeah, exactly.
Hamilton?
No, it
Yeah.
was,
7th and 8th grade.
it was,
It was 7th, 8th, but you don't call it a junior high until you are unified.
Okay.
Oh, okay, but about a 7th and 8th grade?
7th and
but
8th
there were
grade.
just 7th and 8th graders at that
Right.
location in 59.
Later.
Yeah, and it's still Roseman Elementary, it's just 7th and 8th grade.
Hamilton's.
And, yeah,
Yeah, it was called Hamilton.
it was called Hamilton, that's right, named after Ezra Hamilton. And just as a little aside, Hamilton School has gone away. It's been absorbed by the high school and,
District office.
no, it's just
college, early college.
early college, yes, yes.
Education.
So there is no more Hamilton. If you look at the building where it used to say Hamilton, it is gone. Now, I did find a picture, thanks to Janet's family, of the groundbreaking at Tropico. Unfortunately, there are no names. I do recognize one person. This is Winifred Williams.
Oh.
For sure. Obviously, they're all ladies, which I think is wonderful. I don't know who's in the fur coat.
Mrs. Hazelrig.
That's what I was wondering. Okay, Mrs. Hazelrig in the fur coat, I wondered. And I think she was still here when I started, but I recognize, but I can't remember her name. She was at the elementary school and I wasn't.
Mrs. Black, I think, is in some of the pictures. I can't remember, and I can't see it clear enough from here. The bright blue skirt is Mrs. Swayze.
Okay, so this is Mrs. Swayze.
Probably Mrs. Cable. One of them, maybe, I don't know.
But again, the date on this, the day was there, the month was there, but the year wasn't on the picture. So does anyone remember, was Tropico then after Hamilton?
Yes.
Okay, so it would be the latter part of 1950, after.
I would say it was probably in the 60s, I would guess.
I went to kindergarten
This-
there in 61.
I went there for 6th grade and the last month of 5th grade. And 6th grade, at the end of the year, would have been out at Tropico, 6th grade ended at 59. So they must have been about the same time.
So this must be 1959.
Well, the
The
groundbreaking.
groundbreaking,
would have been
okay,
ahead of that.
yeah. 1959 would be a completion date.
Well, I also 5th grade, so it would have been 58, 57 or 8, something like that.
57 or 8, all right.
Something.
57-58, okay. So the kids out there had their own school district. For some reason, they decided to change the name. They hadn't even finished out the year, it looked like, or just about finished out the year when they changed the name to the West Antelope School District. Never had more than 14 students, it said, and several times it almost closed, but then a family would move in, and so they'd be able to stay open the next year. But it did finally close due to lack of ADA in 1946. I don't have a clue where it might be. Does anyone have are there any ruins or anything out there? Janet?
170.
170th between Gaskell and Roseman Boulevard was a town called Domino on the west or east side of the road. And
Okay, so 170th
right.
between
Gaskell.
School and Tropico School. And that was, it said on the page from the scrapbook, 1960. These were pictures taken in 1960. So, making some progress. up until this time, all ninth graders and above then had to go to Lancaster to go to high school.
Antelope Valley High School.
Antelope Valley High School, and that went way back. I have some pictures that I'd gotten from Doreen Settle of people way back in the early times. It looked like flapper times almost. There is a dormitory that they had down there, and they had to go stay in the dormitory because you didn't travel back and forth to Lancaster like you do now. And there was a picture of the school. Then as time went on and transportation got better, then, you know, people were bused to Lancaster. I was talking to somebody many years ago who remembers as a young man, he drove the bus and went out to Boron and way out, and then came back and picked up kids in Mojave and picked up kids in Rosamond and took them to Lancaster to go to high school. And a lot of parents said, we want our high school kids to go to school in Rosamond. So there was a movement afoot. And one of the yearbooks, this one that I pulled and didn't put out, had a wonderful tribute to the committee of people who worked on unification so that we could have a high school in this community. This was, I identify that I need the book because you can't read it real well here. This is Mary Nelson, as in Bob and Mary from Willow Springs, the mother of Mary Nelson Green that we knew. This is Glendon Johnson. This is Roy Loomis. Roy Loomis. This is Colonel Pauley, Al Gridley. And I didn't ever hear this name, William Krebel, Krehbiel.
Crable, maybe?
Crable. This yearbook was dedicated to this group because this was quite a project to get unification. Oops, wrong way. They had to get a petition together and present it to the school board, and then there had to be an election. And then once there's an election, that's not the end of it, according to this little thing in here, because it had to go through several governmental agencies to be approved. It had to go to the Kern County District Reorganization Committee first, and then it had to go to the California State Board of Education to be approved. And at that time, the California State Board of Education, according to this little blurb here, was not in favor of small high schools. So there had to have been a lot of concerted effort by that committee and various people to get this to happen. But finally, July 1, 1962, we became a unified school district. And as I was typing this, I had this little thought. I was hired either in May or June of 1962. So I wasn't hired by Southern Unified School District. I was hired by the elementary school district because it wasn't a unified school district yet. So now we have Hamilton Junior High. Now you can call it a junior high. You're a unified school district. And this is where I taught for several years. And then you have Rosamond Elementary School. And now you have Tropical Elementary School. Of course, then I remember at some point in time, they were shifting people around. So the Tropico sometimes had older kids. They were, as you know, the town grew, things were moved around a lot. But what I also remember is the groundbreaking for the high school, because if you're a unified school district, you now need a high school. And again, this little yearbook was just a wonderful, wonderful little bit of information.
Hey, Gretchen, I know that Tropico used to be the school for those of us who lived out west.
Yeah, and that's how it was formed.
Yeah.
It was, everybody west went to elementary school in Tropico, everybody in town went to elementary school in Roseman. That was the initial concept.
And when you lived and your parents decided to move in the middle of a school year,
You got to
you
change
changed to a whole new set of school. It was totally different.
Yeah, because you lived in town, Ella, for a while, and then you moved out.
Out.
Yeah.
It was the dividing line must have been about 35th
It was,
and 20th Street.
it was like what's the trailer park? WW Trailer Park. It's not that, I know.
It was Trailer Ranch.
Okay, is that what it is? Okay.
But they also were putting town kids in there because I did first and second grade out there, then third and fourth at Roseman Elementary.
That was
And then
later.
fifth
They
and
did,
sixth
first it was all
So they
K
moved
through.
it all around.
Yeah.
There was a lot,
In the 70s, they changed it.
as the population changed, and they didn't want to build more schools, there was a lot of mix and match here.
Yeah.
But anyway, we have the groundbreaking for the high school, and this is kind of neat. Remember, Charles Graves helped found the Roseman School District, and this is whoops, wrong one. Go back. This is Cornelia Graves at the groundbreaking. This is J.A. Lawson. There are some representatives from Kern County Superintendent Schools here. I think this is the former Kern County Superintendent Schools man who is speaking. Anyway, they broke ground. Well, if you were here, as I was during that time, you know that things did not go real smoothly with the construction of the high school. Ground was broken in October of '64. High school still wasn't finished by 1966.
And you know kids did not want to come back.
But we get it. But in September of '66, we did pull kids back, except the people who were seniors got the option. If they were seniors,
I
they
think
got to
juniors
stay.
also, juniors and seniors
Maybe. Well,
got the option.
I know it was for sure the seniors, because I was senior class sponsor for that first graduating class. And it was a tiny little class. You know, it was when we did our senior field trip, which you do at the end of the school year, I drove a van, and there may have been one other car that went, and all the seniors that were graduating went in the van and the other car. And we went to a place in Malibu that was some kind of a beach club. And it was cold, and the kids all were really disappointed, but the place had a swimming pool inside, so they were okay with that. But the other thing, once Roseman was finished, it was finished in 1966, the end of 1966, December, because we moved from where we had been trying to house all the 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade students that had returned in the old Hamilton buildings. We moved Christmas vacation. That one I will never forget. Spending the entire Christmas vacation moving. And that was terribly challenging because, you know, we're all in Hamilton right next door. But where do you put all these kids? I mean, when we started out, they had kids in the library, they had kids in the shop building, anywhere where you could get them in out of the elements. Now, I had also ordered, because I was going to be the high school science teacher, I had ordered all of the stuff you need for a science class. All the boxes of pipettes, flasks, all the chemicals, everything. I mean, I had all this stuff that came in September with no classroom to put it in. So it was in my classroom, and it was a building just like this, with boxes, floor to ceiling, on 3 sides of the room. We'd even blocked off part of the windows with boxes. And you need tables when you're teaching science. And so we found some kindergarten tables out in a barn somewhere stored. And so for several months, I taught chemistry, kindergarten tables. I'd go through boxes and find what I needed and then put it back when I was done. It was a challenge. But we finally got moved in. Christmas vacation.
Well, then originally they were going to start with the freshman class that had freshmen and sophomores, freshmen, sophomore, juniors, and then that way. But they changed it, and a lot of the kids in my class was not for it. They were not going to come back.
Did not come back. Yeah.
There was just nothing there for us.
Yeah, it was a difficult time for staff and students. But we do, the high school is finished. And we proceed. Lots of things went on at the high school, a lot of other building that you don't, these things are not even being used now at the high school, but the arena was built. I was talking to somebody at the high school, and they didn't even know there was an arena at the high school. The arena is still there. I used to show horses at the arena at the high school that was still there. But it's, of course, how can you have a rodeo ground arena on a high school nowadays? I can think the liability would be astronomical.
But you know who said to build it there?
Your dad?
No, Judd Lawson. He said, build the Roping and Riding Club arena on the school ground, because someday people are going to want to shut you down, and they'll still be using it, and people are going to want to shut it down. And because it's a school-sponsored arena, they won't be able to shut it down as easy. And that was a big conflict with some of the people on the board and stuff at the time. And Judd said, nope, this is how it goes. And so he's the one.
I think we may have been the only high school in California to have a rodeo arena.
Participated in the construction.
That's right.
You remember?
Oh, yeah.
Probably Terry too, huh?
It was a really good place to go hide.
During school, you would be a good place to go hide.
That part.
Well, it was used. They even had booze, and I should have gotten myself booze, not booze. There, where they had the Halloween carnival. Remember that? Where they, a lot of the clubs in town would have a booth there. It was used a lot for a while. Of course, they also had the farm. And it doesn't look to me like the farm is in existence at all nowadays. It looks like that's totally not being used. But the whole shift in education is different now. We were much more agricultural back then. A lot of people were still farming. But there's other changes. Our Roseman Elementary our old one wasn't big enough, and so they built West Park Elementary School. And I know I have the dates here because that's when I finally retired. 2007, so, and I was at
You
West
finished
Park.
out there, didn't you?
I finished out, yeah, this was last year. So I have that date I know. And of course, it's been expanded, ever since it was built, it's been expanded.
5th and 40th, it's all the way at the back. But, yeah, it goes north, it goes south.
Yeah,
And-
Ella is
and-
saying it's
South
south of town, off of 35th Street.
there's a,
And it's-
there's a school there.
It's big now. It's much bigger than when I was there on its first year. And then now, of course, Roseman Elementary is now here. Not where we all thought Roseman Elementary was, where we all worked or went to school. It is kind of in limbo right now as to what they're going to do with it, I think. But this is the new Roseman Elementary. Now, just to end this, because I want you all to have time to go next door and look at these yearbooks, because there are quite a few of them over there, and they're just a lot of fun. And there's a lot of information in them also. But as an ending, I thought it would be fun. Remember when Willow Springs School opened, they had an enrollment of 11 students. Well, I went to the district office Monday. And as of Monday, wow, we have 3,654 enrolled students.
That's bigger than the town ones back then.
What, didn't we have,
That is bigger than the town was, that's right.
3,000? No, it was 2,078?
I don't know, and this town keeps growing. Okay, that is the end of my presentation. As I said, we have gaps, we have holes. I'm hoping you all have some information somewhere where you can help me fill in more gaps and holes and look for pictures and remember things, and maybe looking at your books will help you remember stuff and write it down. Any other questions?
I'm pretty sure that my great-grandmother was the first school bus driver for Roseman School, on the Wellamactomy.
We need
I
that
think I have that as an article
information.
somewhere. I'll have to dig it up.
Yeah, you need that, Joe.
I'll have to dig it up.
That would be neat. What year would that be?
Well, that was
When did we
around-
have
I
a
don't
school
know.
bus?
I don't know when that would be. Then.
Because, early on, they rode horses. Yeah.
Later on, they did too, if they were boys. The girls didn't get to.
Okay, any other comments or questions?
Gretchen, just out of curiosity, you started teaching in 1962. Is there anybody who started teaching earlier than that? Okay. Byron and Jerry, are you two the oldest elementary school kids? Anybody older than Byron and Jerry? What year did you guys graduate?
From which?
High school?
Well,
63.
but they weren't in high school here. So they would have graduated in 8th grade here.
Oh, okay.
And that was in 1959.
1959, that's what I wrote down.
All right.
The first 4-year graduation was 68.
Okay, anybody here from 1968?
Yeah. Yeah. Judy was
From the 1968 class?
One of the yearbooks shows that. It shows the group of kids that was the first group of kids that went from 9 through 12 here at the school. One of the yearbooks shows that.
And it was a big deal for a lot of years to take a picture as a senior with everybody that had gone to school from kindergarten through 12th grade.
Yes.
Yes.
Only it was Liz Alexander when I went to school. Okay.
There's water, soda, and snacks back here, so feel free to grab something and hand
As I say, in the next door classroom, we have your books laid out. We have big tables in there, and you can just go and browse and look at the yearbooks, and it's really fun because you get, oh, that's so and so way back. Yeah, hurry because I gotta go.